I don't know, Councillor Bond is virtual and I don't know about Councillor Jensen. So she's not gonna be here? Okay, very good. Thank you. So, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilors, good to be with you tonight. We have this moment in time wherein we are essentially a year out as it relates to the ending of our current agreement with the Economic Development Agency, Advanced Casper. And as you know, that agreement includes providing a portion of our Pacific Core franchise fee as our contribution to their effort that we do in tandem with the county, and essentially is paid to the Economic Development Joint Powers Board, the EDJPB, of which Councilor Pollack and Councilor Pacheco are on your behalf. The basic request in front of you tonight is not necessarily to go into the details at this moment with regard to what the agreement says or should say or shouldn't say in our renewal, but rather simply to get your blessing and approval to start the negotiation process that would be tantamount to, re-enlisting with Advanced Casper and the EDJPB as we move forward past this year and beyond. With that will come, of course, a deliberation of the terms and so forth that we would be bringing back to you throughout the process of negotiating this agreement, and trying to nail those down as it comes to the eventual signing of a new agreement or a new term, whatever that might be. And so with that, Mr. Mayor, my question is real simple tonight, and that is council comfortable with us moving forward in the negotiation phase of this agreement in advance of its termination?
Any questions from council? Are we in agreement? Looks like we're all in agreement.
All right, well, we will move forward and start that process.
Very good.
Thank you.
Lead and copper rural water service line inventory.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, no problem, no problem. Many of you might be aware of our attempts to survey our populace about the presence of lead service lines throughout the community. And as a part of that, there's undoubtedly some questions as to what this is about, why we have to go through this and so on. In concert with that effort to try to get some input from the community, I thought it'd be helpful for council to have the opportunity to learn more about this and understand it in some detail, and ask any questions if you have them. So with that, if I could turn some time over to Mr. Brower to walk us through this effort a little bit, that'd be great.
Sounds good. And I'm assuming we just don't want to be another Flint, Michigan.
We do not. Thanks so much.
Mayor, councilors, good evening. So the lead and copper rule was originally started in 1991, and it's because of the risks of lead. There's no safe levels of lead contamination. And it's important for everybody to realize that the real exposure and the real challenge of lead in our water system is if you have an aggressive water that corrodes that lead and then puts it into drinking water. And the city of Casper has never tested positive for any lead in our water since 1991. And the city of Casper, for over 30 years, since the regional water system water treatment plant was constructed, they put pH control or corrosion control chemicals in the water to keep our water so it's not aggressive, so it doesn't corrode us. Now, the city years ago was very active in removing all lead pipes. There aren't very many mains that are lead. But in the old days, there were leaded joints where you had cast iron pipe and they literally melted lead in there to make those joints. And as far as we know, all of those lines have been removed. We haven't found one for years. And we're also fairly confident that we don't have any lead service lines. But a lead service lines, there's a lot of unknown because of when homes were built and depending on how the home builder built them and ran the water line in. So part of this project, when they promulgated the enhanced, I think it was the enhanced, the lead and copper rule revisions in December 2023, they required that we do an inventory of all these service lines. Well, you can imagine it's very challenging to go door to door and say, hey, we'd like to look at your service line. And so the city has been very aggressive through our public engagement division and then along with Bruce with the water department in sending out mailings, doing a lot of work on the website with some really instructional videos to help people understand, where is my service line? What does it look like? How do I determine what kind of pipe it is? And recently sent out a mailing to everybody, fairly expensive, but again, we've had very positive feedback on people that have received those. Now, again, we've struggled getting everybody to report back to us because in October of this year is when we're reported you have to provide EPA with all the materials of all of our service lines. And so we're encouraging the public to please let them know that, this isn't an imminent risk that we see. It's a requirement of EPA. And frankly, it was brought forward because of what happened in Flint, Michigan, where so much of that was related to them not providing the corrosion control chemicals in their water that they needed to provide. And it caused the corrosion of those lead service lines, which again poses an imminent health risk. Again, I'm proud to say, even though I'm new to the city's been doing a great job of addressing this for decades. And we're just looking for the public's help and reporting back to us, the materials of construction. So if everybody can talk to their neighbors, I've heard a lot of people say, oh yeah, I got that mailing, but I haven't turned it in yet. So I encourage them to please take a few minutes and turn it in or visit our website. So Mayor, Councilors, I'd be glad to stand for any questions that you may have.
The one thing that I would like for you to clarify is I know you've mentioned it twice, and I know it will pique some people's, they're putting corrosion inhibitor in our drinking water. Can you address that to make sure that we don't get a bunch of phone calls about you're poisoning us with corrosion inhibitor?
Yeah, the corrosion inhibitor is a safe chemical that's added at an extremely low dose. And basically, if we recall the old pH, from our high school chemistry, where you don't want the water to be acidic. And our water is close, I think, to a 7.5 pH, but we also would add some alkalinity, which is a buffer against pH change. And we're just trying to make the water, again, slightly depositing. You don't want a water, we all know we have a moderately hard water. We have magnesium and calcium hard water deposits on our sinks at home, so there is some of that depositing. So but again, it's a safe EPA approved chemical that's been added. And again, if anybody does have very specific information, want to know exactly what it is, but basically we're just slightly adjusting the pH and I believe adding a little bit of alkalinity to the water to make it very stable and again, slightly basic versus acidic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? One other thing I was going to ask, now, did you send out mailers to everybody or did you just send them out to, or did you not send them out to houses built after a certain point?
They went out to everybody, and frankly, this is a city of Casper requirement, not necessarily regional. And so the problem is in doing the mailers, some challenges. And so they went out to every customer, and it wasn't based upon the date of construction. It was a very broad swath to try and catch as, to try and collect as many, positive receipts as possible.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Brower. We appreciate it. Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program Grant. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. This is the opportunity we have to pursue a rather large grant, as you can see in your memo. We are hoping to get a lot done with that funding, as you can imagine, as it relates to the installation of a fairly lengthy pathway. And with that, hopefully, of course, be a significant gap that would be filled with regard to that aspect of our network. If I could have Tom kind of go through that with us a little bit as well, so that you can have any of your questions answered that that you might need. This will be coming forward here soon for your formal approval as we move forward, pending your blessing.
Mayor, councilors, I don't have too much to add. You know, this is basically a grant for a project that has been envisioned for quite a while, and that is a pedestrian pathway along Wyoming Boulevard. And again, to provide a lot of pedestrian connectivity and, you know, not recreation, but activity space and space for people to get exercise and provide safe intermodal transportation for people walking in on bicycles, and basically parallels Wyoming Boulevard all the way around the loop around Casper. And so again, it's a fairly significant grant in the amount of $8.2 million. And we're just, and it's an 80-20 match. And so we're just hopeful. We've been pursuing this for some time with YDOT to be successful in what's formerly called an Active Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program. Great. Be glad to answer any questions that you maybe have about the project.
Councilor Yamroth.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Tom, for the context. I guess I believe I at one point had read the MPO study kind of justifying the desire to have this pathway, but do you have any information on hand in regards to like what is the expected usage of the pathway? Do you know if the MPA or MPO identified that at all? And I'd also be curious, the Transportation Investment Program grant, is that very specific and narrow in its focus, in which this project is one of the only, you know, candidate for it, or could it potentially be, is it broad enough it could be potentially applied to other projects that we're deliberating over the course of the next week?
Councilor, I don't have the answer to your first question as far as the amount of usage. I know on every pathway project that I've worked on, I don't ever remember seeing, you know, like we do with traffic where we look at, hey, this is the projected number of vehicles per day, vehicle trips. And so I don't recall, you know, usually it's based upon where we see usage and where there's usage that isn't that safe. You know, I think about the Casper Mountain Road pathway, you know, and where, to be honest, I wasn't sure how many people would use it. Now I'm surprised at the number of people that actually do use it. And so I don't have that information. Most of these whiteout grants are very specific in what you apply for in the grant and what is available. And again, this one also coincides with a plan for YDOT to do some overlay and paving of Wyoming Boulevard in that area. So I can certainly follow back on some more exact specifics. I actually didn't complete the grant application for this program, and so I'm not, I'm more familiar with TAP grants. I'm not as familiar with this grant program. And again, I apologize for not being able to answer your question completely.
No worries. I put you on the spot. Yeah, I mean, I guess I just personally, I hope I can allow a follow-up. I didn't really ask. That's it. I mean, I guess I understand the importance of this project in regards to the need to connect trails across the city, and I know the MPO's identified it. I guess I personally, I would be surprised if there was a lot of people that used it. It would just make me feel more comfortable if I knew people were going to use it, as opposed to, you know, $800,000. It is only a 20% match, but it's nearly $1 million. I mean, it's a pretty significant chunk of change. And so I guess if there was any reassurance anyone could provide me in regards to, you know, it would get used, because as an avid trail user myself, I don't find the prospect of, you know, running or biking or anything along Wyoming Boulevard that compelling myself. But again, I'm just one person. So.
Do we have the plans of what YDOT is going to do on Wyoming Boulevard? Because that might help explain a little bit of his questions.
It's pretty much when we sat down, we meet with them quarterly at least. Alex and I do, and it's pretty much an overlay project. And so it's not, you know, complete reconstruction or 4 lanes or anything like that.
That would be nice. Darn.
If I can, I would offer, because again, I apologize for not being able to answer fully, and I would be more than happy to work with the MPO and with Alex to try and get you some more data. And I think on our long-term transportation master plan and any other documents that they have that demonstrates, some more data and information on that pathway, I'd be glad to put that in the council information packet, and work with Carter on preparing that to give you a little additional information, because I think those are very legitimate questions.
I appreciate that. I personally would be interested in that. And I know, sorry, this is probably not the best time to be bringing my concerns to the table. I know we, several weeks or a couple months back approved, I guess, we will be considering submittal of the application, but I thought we had something on our agenda a couple months ago along these lines that was kind of initial, giving initial consent for it. And I should have probably brought up my concerns then, but it gave me pause and hesitation even then, because again, it's just a lot of money. $800,000 could, go a long ways in regards to streets. That's, 15-20% of our annual streets budget. And so, anything in the way of reassurance that could be provided, I would welcome it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think you have Mr. Bond.
Oh, Councilor Bond.
Thank you, Mayor. Just, Tom, if you'll indulge me just a second, and this may be a question like Kyle's a later time, but it is related, but just some things that some folks have mentioned to me that are bike riders that use the bike paths within the city center more than going to the outlying areas. But just is there anything on the radar that you know of, Tom, for possibly some improvements to bike the in-city bike paths to kind of make them safer, where bike riders are traveling like the same roadways as cars. And what made me also kind of think about it too is I visited some other cities where there's actually the bike path is actually a little bit elevated with a curb, kind of similar, is more or less just a wider sidewalk, but it's actually in the street lane where the bikes would typically travel, but it's raised in order to kind of keep the car. There's a curb there to kind of add a little bit more protection for the bike riders, to kind of keep them from veering into the bike path per se. And again, I don't expect an answer, but just something that has kind of been on my mind. And I just wonder if if there's anything in the foreseeable future to kind of do a study or take a look at, get some feedback from bike riders within the city about the safety. I know we've had a couple of bad accidents in the past, but just wondering if it's on your radar.
Mayor, Councilor Bond, great coincidence. This morning, I was meeting with the MPO on the long-term transportation master plan, which takes place every 5 years. And a big part of that long-term transportation master plan are the shared use, the intermodal pathways. And I shared with them some areas of concern and some areas of focus. And as luck would have it, they were right outside the entrance tonight, soliciting public input. So they're in the process of having some very active listening sessions. And so I will relay that to them as well. And I think it's important, especially if people have identified specific areas of concern, for us to be able to address those in the long-term transportation master plan. And they also met with the Platte River Parkway Trails Trust today. And again, I was just talking to them before I came in about, trying to work very closely with them and integrate our master plans for what we have, or not just pathways, but the shared use of roadways and how we make that safe and effective and connected in our community. So it's a great time to bring that up. And it's really, again, I'd love to solicit your input. I know we'll be in front of council. I don't have that committed to memory as far as that schedule, but again, if you solicited information, they've set up a website. I can make sure that we share that with you for doing a questionnaire. And so again, then you can share that with your constituents as well. So I will make sure I follow through on that as well, and probably, to be quite honest, included in the same memo, the website, and address both these questions with kind of the follow-up information.
Thank you, Tom. And I'll be glad to share any information I get. I've got some photographs I actually took some photographs of the bike paths that I saw, so I can share that with you as well.
Any other questions? Oh, did you? Yes.
Although I didn't want to get ahead of anybody's questions. No, okay.
Oh,
Mr. Mayor, if it would please the council, we certainly can bring this forward in an opportunity to have more discussion. In say a work session format or whatever. I couldn't agree more. $800,000 is a lot to commit by way of city match. Not to say that we couldn't figure that out and bring forward reasonable solutions, but at the end of the day, for a project this big and an application this big, where a big sizable match is required, I don't have any problem at all coming back to you in an opportunity to discuss this a little further. If that pleases the council, if you'd like to see it.
I think that would be good.
looks like that's probably where we'd like to go.
Great, we will do that.
Do we have a deadline we have to meet?
We do.
Yeah, we do. And I guess the other thing is we don't, we can always withdraw our application. So if if we could proceed with the grant application and then, not, we can very quickly, decide or in a reasonable time decide. But if we could get approval to submit the application, that would certainly be helpful. And then if we withdraw it, I don't see that as being a big, black mark on our permanent record. So I don't know if that.
Mr. Mayor, I think I'd rather have a conversation with you, in a work session setting and instead of doing that, if we can,
What's our deadline on the grant?
As luck would have it, it's not in the memo.
Yeah.
And I will find that information out first thing in the morning.
Pass that on to our city manager and just make sure that if we need to go to a work session, then make sure we get it all, that we don't miss the deadline. Is that reasonable?
well, and Mr. Mayor, we have to be open as staff to the notion that council might not be comfortable with the grant application. And so I think I'd rather have you be comfortable before we make application. And if we miss a deadline, we miss it. It's our fault for not having the questions that you need answered. Done so in the appropriate fashion. So we'll take this to a work session and go through it with you. And if we can make application, we'll heartily do so. If not, we will embrace that direction as well.
Okay. Everybody okay?
Yeah.
Sounds good then. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Flair. City County MOU for the columbarium.
Yeah.
City manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. This is an opportunity that we have to partner with the commission as it relates to providing columbarium services for indigent burials. Now, I was surprised to learn this, and maybe you would be too, but the county receives, and we do too, the remains of people who are essentially John and Jane Does. We have no real verifiable means of connecting with next of kin and those kinds of things. And so the challenge that we have in those scenarios is we have nowhere to put their remains, which typically are cremains.
Mhm.
And so in that scenario, the county actually has a statutory obligation to deal with those remains, and until now have not had a real good answer as it relates to what to do. Now, in some cases, we do find loved ones who can connect with those remains and we can get them to them. In some cases, we just have no luck in that respect. So the county approached the city and asked if we would be interested in entering into a partnership that allows for the county to install columbarium facilities that would enable a respectful means of putting to rest those individuals. Certainly in the case where we cannot connect with loved ones to make that happen otherwise. The question before the council is whether or not you would be comfortable dedicating a piece of land at the cemetery that would help to locate the columbarium or columbariums and be dedicated for those indigent burials, if you will. We are awaiting the blessing of the county to consider this partnership. Hence the reason you don't have something in your packet that really goes through this in much more detail. The hope is that with their blessing, we can bring you finer details as it relates to this partnership. But as it lays out on a conceptual basis, that essentially is the idea. The county installs the columbarium, and we see to it when those remains are turned over to us, that those remains are set into the columbarium as well as indexed and recorded, so that if loved ones do ever reach out, we can take them right to where their departed relative is.
Everybody okay with that? Mr. Bond?
So, go ahead.
What? Oh, putting together an MOU to,
So we're gonna have multiple, conversations about this, sounds like.
Mr. Mayor, council, certainly we can have as many conversations as you'd like, but if we have a dramatic departure from the concept I just laid out for you, I would say, yes, we would need to visit again, determining how that relationship changes. But fundamentally, that really is it. Whether or not you're comfortable allowing a portion of the cemetery to be set aside for indigent cremain deposits.
So follow up, the MOU will probably show up on a future consent agenda.
Right, sure. And certainly if council wants to see it outside of consent, we can do that. Or if you need to see it in another work session, we can do that as well. Whatever you'd like to see beyond the conceptual sort of laying out of this.
conceptually, I would agree that it's okay, so. Looks like we're good.
All right, thank you. We'll bring you some more information then as it comes together.
Anything? Say again?
No.
Oh, anything on the agenda review?
No, sir. Oh, not from my perspective.
Very good. We have, about a minute. So if anybody needs a quick break, go for it. Otherwise, we will get the meeting started.
I think council would have brought it.
Yeah, I have one real quick session, but it's in regard, it's on our consent agenda, so I wanted to ask before we actually got in the meeting, but we'll be approving YDOT expenditures to improve Yellowstone, and I guess I was just looking for confirmation, because I believe we're still doing the Western Gateway Corridor study, or the MPO is, and I just wanted confirmation that whatever expenditures on Yellowstone Highway were gonna be in accordance with the results of the Western Gateway Corridor study. I was surprised to see us doing work in that while the study's ongoing as well.
Mr. Mayor, I think the short answer is yes, but indeed, if you need more detail, I can invite Liz up to talk to us in a little more. Is she here?
Yeah.
She is.
Is she winching?
Yeah, she looks like she is.
Yeah, somebody up there in the audience, they were looking like this, that I thought I saw some blondish hair sticking over the top of the paper.
Come on, yeah, if I could turn some time over to her to try and answer a question, I'd be pleased.
Sure, if we got a spare 30 seconds.
You're out of time.
I see it as 6. We haven't met for 2 weeks, so I got all this pent up, energy that I need to release.
Go out and run around the block a couple of times. That's what I used to tell the kids. Go outside and play.
Mr. Mayor, members of council. So Counselor, it's the one on number 6. Under the resolutions, cooperative agreement with YDOT for street enhancements, First Street to Mills, to East Yellowstone enhancement. Correct? I will say that I am not familiar with that project. It may be more of an engineering, city engineering discussion. But I do know that it is not impacted by the Western Gateway Corridor Study affirmatively, because we are in phase 2 of that, and that is only taking us from the West Belt Loop out to the airport. So that study is not impacted with this project.
Different area.
Correctly, a different area, but I don't know what this project is seeking to do. That would be again more of an engineering project, so I know the first question you asked.
Okay, that was really, I couldn't tell whether it was the same area or different areas. Sounds like it's different areas.
But this could be part of the first phase that we did have completed through the MPO, so that I can't answer for sure.
Okay.
Okay. I'll go back and sit in the audience.
Appreciate the input.
Thank you, Liz.
Mr. Mayor, if Councilor Gamroth would like more detail, Tom can certainly come up and help us with that too. Since we're playing a little staff roulette here.
Do you want some more?
Okay, I know our meeting, should be starting now. That's reassurance enough that, I just
Okay.
want to make sure we weren't putting the cart ahead of the horse, doing work that was going to be potentially.
Redone.
Yeah. So, sounds like we're good. Thank you.
Very good. That being said, before we begin the, geez, maybe I need the break. Before we begin this evening, I would like to remind everyone to silence their cell phones. Council meetings are live streamed on city's YouTube channel. I now call the August 6, 2024 regular council meeting to order. The chair would entertain a motion to by minute action excuse the absences of Councilor Jensen and Councilor Pacheco.
So moved. Second.
All voting aye?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Bond?
Sorry.
There we go. All voting nay, please record the vote.
All councilors voting aye, the motion passes.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please read the consent minute approval titles.
Approving the minutes of the July 2nd, 2024 regular council meeting minutes as published in the Casper Star Tribune on July 25th, 2024. And the July 16th, 2024 regular council meeting minutes as published in the Casper Star Tribune on July 25th, 2024. The July 16th, 2024 executive session and the July 23rd, 2024 special council meeting minutes as published in the Casper Star Tribune on August 6th, 2024.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent minute action agenda items just read.
So moved. Second.
Any abstentions or nay votes?
Yeah. I'll abstain from A2 and A3.
All others voting aye,
Aye.
please record the vote.
With Councilor Sutherland's abstention noted and all others voting aye, the motion passes.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the August 6, 2024 bills and claims as audited by city manager Napier.
Second.
Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye,
Aye.
please record the vote.
All councilors voting aye, the motion passes.
The council would like to recognize the City of Casper finance team for an award that was received for the fiscal year 2024 budget. The Government Finance Officers Association established a prestigious awards program in 1984 recognizing transparency in the presentation of a government's budget. Approximately 1,700 government award recipients have pioneered efforts to improve the quality of budgeting and provide an excellent example of other governments throughout North America. The city of Casper is the only Wyoming entity who received this award for the fiscal year starting in 2023, which is the FY24 budget, according to the GFOA website. The award represents a significant achievement by the entity. It reflects the commitment of the governing body and staff to meeting the highest principles of governmental budgeting. In order to receive the budget award, the entity had to satisfy nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation. These guidelines are designed to assess how well an entity's budget serves as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communications device. I would like to congratulate the finance staff for this amazing accomplishment. I would now like to introduce Jill Johnson, the City of Casper Finance Director, to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. Actually, I'd like to introduce my team, if that would be okay, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely.
So we have here Nicholas Gassman, he is our accounting supervisor, and Krista Wiggs, she is our grant specialist. And here in spirit, although he could not be here tonight, is Pete Myers, who is our financial management analyst. All of these people are very important in developing our budget book every year. And I would like to offer my sincere thanks as well to the dedication of this team. They are an outstanding team.
It's easier to climb over one than it is four. You're good, thank you. I'd like to present you with this award. It says Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award presented to City of Casper, Wyoming. Signed Christopher Morrisell, Executive Director and CEO. Congratulations, thank you.
After you, please. Please.
Oh, my God.
Please.
It's afraid that you're
And we know that there's a lot of work that goes in, not only for your team in compiling it all, but from all of the department heads and all of the staff throughout in presenting our budget to us. So I think a round of applause goes out to actually every city staff member. We do appreciate it all. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. Now it's time. We invite anyone in the audience who wishes to speak with the council to come forward. This portion of the meeting is dedicated to the public to allow them time to voice their concerns. Please state your name, direct all questions or comments to the mayor. No personal obscenities or threats will be tolerated. Council will not respond to personnel matters. These will be referred to the city manager. Councilors may ask clarifying questions, but if they choose to respond to matters, they will do so during the scheduled council response time following communications from persons present. Presentations will be limited to 5 minutes and no time extensions will be permitted. Please note that public hearings and ordinances each have their own separate comment periods. Dolly, you've got a bunch. Please come forward.
Council, Mayor Kathy, here I am again. As elections are only 2 weeks away from today, I want to take one last effort to share with you. Mainly, I want to talk about the town halls we've been hosting at the senior center, and this is in regards to the ballot measure for the senior district. We've had 2 town halls so far, trying to advertise them in every way possible, but attendance has not been near what I had hoped it was, because I'm all about a meaningful conversation, all about it. Our last one is this coming Thursday night at the senior center. And I just want to share that with everyone. The attendance of to this is very, very important to me. The board, my board of directors, Meals on Wheels board of directors, Wyoming Senior Citizens board of directors, so that we make sure that everyone is getting the correct information, asking the tough questions, and complete transparency. So 2 weeks away, I just wanted to share that and wanted to know if I may, if I could get these to you. Is that okay? Okay. How are you? Very briefly, thank you. I really hope I can see some of you at our next town hall this Thursday night.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
You bet. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Tim Starks, and I live as a prisoner in my own home. I have been through the police department, the DCI. The only traction I've ever been able to get through is through the sheriff's department, and I am extremely thankful for the sheriff's department, and especially, if it could be noted, Charity LaFountain with the sheriff's department, who helped me and my family get a stalking protection order in place against my neighbor. My kids are not, they don't get to go outside and play because we have meth addicts walking up and down our sidewalk all day, all night. We have cars that show up all day, all night. He just broke the protection order on Thursday. I wasn't even given a case number. I've had to go to court 3 separate times to get the protection order written correctly by the judge. I've went through PD in attempts to get the constant domestic disturbances taken care of, and they show up and they tell them go your separate way, and nothing happens. Nothing has happened. There's constant goods flowing into the house that you know are stolen, and nobody wishes to do anything about it. And I apologize. This has been 6 years that this has been going on. My 5-year-old was told by my 8-year-old, don't pick up the trash in the yard because it might have fentanyl on it. Because when they did have the 14 assigned to the house, they were pulled over through botchy police work. They were got off on a technicality, and they had a page and a half of methamphetamine and marijuana paraphernalia found in the house with fentanyl, and they got off completely scot-free. This is what I live next to day in, day out. We're scared to go outside of our front door. I hate to admit, but I've almost had to use deadly force one time because he not only verbally, but attacked me in my own front yard, having a water balloon fight with my kid because their dog attacked me. It's taken 8 to 10 calls to Metro to finally get 4 running at large citations written for the dog and a reckless dog citation issued. And guess what? He failed to appear to court. He's had a bench warrant for his arrest for over a year, for over a month, and he still hasn't been picked up. You know what he's doing? He's out on the river. He's out at night stealing stuff. He's selling drugs. Do you know why? Because me and all of our neighbors are woken up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning by the slamming doors because they don't sleep, because they're on methamphetamine 24/7. I've had to go to court to defend myself, my Second Amendment rights, because she filed a stalking protection order against me. I'm a college soccer referee with a bachelor's in pastoral ministry, and she said I was stalking her. No, it was in retaliation to the second time I had to go to court to get my protection order amended. I need help. My family needs help. Our neighborhood in PV needs help. I don't know where else to go or what else to do. They literally have a chop shop in their front yard. At any given time, their residents can have 9 vehicles, plus a trailer, plus a motorcycle, and a vehicle in the backyard that doesn't even run. You see tools being brought in all the time, people coming in and out of the house all the time. And guess who cares? Just me. I'm the only one that cares. I'm the only one that's there to protect my family. I can't get the police to come out and protect my family. I can't. The sheriff's department has. They've come out and looked at my camera footage when he stole a vehicle. And I still don't know if anything's happening with that. But how am I supposed to rest? How am I supposed to work? How am I supposed to take care of my family with these types of things happening? I want to read you from the code ordinances 9.24.010, disorderly houses. Number 4, sale, consumption, or disposition of liquor or controlled substances contrary to law or any other illegal activity. It is unlawful for any person to keep or knowingly allow to be kept any disorderly house by which the peace, comfort, or decency of the immediate neighborhood is habitually disturbed. How is a 36, 37-year-old man living with his mom in his basement allowed to do all of this stuff? And the mom not have this filed against her or the house be taken away from her.
I believe. Can you get this gentleman's name and contact him and
Absolutely.
get us further report on that?
I have
Appreciate
neighbors
it.
that wouldn't show up tonight because they're afraid to come here because they live across from them and they sit there and they mean mug them and intimidate them in their own front yard. And I had a police officer tell me when I stood up for myself, when he attacked me the second time in front of my 4-year-old, that, oh, you should just go inside next time he comes after you like that. I'm not going to be intimidated in my own house. Nobody should.
Thank you. Sir? Can you give your name and contact information to the city manager?
Yes, sir.
Would appreciate that.
Thank
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm one of his neighbors. I've been a resident for 35 years and I've watched multiple raids on that house. Sometimes of all agencies of law enforcement. 2 of them went to prison for a couple of years and they're back doing the same thing. What I've seen lately is they have a trailer that they have loaded full of, I assume, stolen goods because they cover it up. They disappear in the middle of the night and come back with an empty trailer. And on a weekend when it's not going to the dump. We've witnessed multiple things that are questionable with these people and nothing seems to be sticking. They went to prison, yes, but they're back doing it again. And recently we've seen multiple cars come from Colorado just for a little bit, disappear in the night, they're gone. We highly suspect that there's drug trafficking going on as well as stolen goods. So, thank you.
Thank you.
He's out front. Sir, he's out front getting the information.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. At your July 16th meeting, you approved the ballot questions for November general election for the special 1% sales tax that would raise the sales tax to 6%. Proposition 5, there was an amendment to add a portion of the cost of the new fire station, Station 1. However, doesn't say how much that portion is, because 4.4 million, not 80%, it's not 50%, it's 20%. So my concern is that if the voters approve Proposition 5, and when there's enough funding to reach 4.4 million, we're still $15 million short. So again, I'll suggest that you at least put in the total cost, which with the construction, the design, and the purchase of the land is about $20 million. I'm just suggesting that because I think voters will, if they vote for this, they're going to have to find out that we're $15 million short. Hopefully there'd be some grants. Maybe some grant applications should be looked at now for that, rather than waiting till November. Also, from a marketing aspect, you approved 8 different propositions, projects. So you're asking the voters to vote 8 times to raise their taxes. And of course, it's a 2-year period. That's a difficult thing to ask people, to vote 8 times to raise their taxes for various different projects. I know you've already proved that, but at least if you could fix Proposition 5, I think that would be a good idea.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Jesse Morgan with Gorgon LLC. I just wanted to reach out to council members and of course city staff as well regarding the Gorgon Hills subdivision located in Wolf Creek. Those that aren't familiar with it, it's along Moose Street, and it is formerly known as the Wolf Creek Cemetery. I now own Gorgon LLC and the land, or subdivision for that matter, entirely. And the reason why I'm before you tonight is to propose the idea of a de-annexation of the property itself. The reason being, we're going to keep it. We're not going to develop it as we had originally planned with my former business partner. We're just, like I said, going to keep it. So there's 1,200 feet of already paved road that the city of Casper is responsible for. In my mind, especially at one point, sitting in your chair, you know, trying to find funds and where you're going to pay for certain things that aren't always allocated for or planned for, was always, you know, difficult. And, you know, if there's a de-annexation, a vacation of Moose Street, you know, at that point, it would be a driveway for my property instead of, you know, the city of Casper kind of paving a road that only, you know, myself or perhaps guests would drive on. I would see that use of funds better served in another street or part of town where, you know, more than one property owner is going to utilize that. So I just want to bring that forward to you to see if that would be worth a work session for further discussion. And I did publish at one point in the newspaper the proposal for de-annexation. That was for the 6 lots, but in this case, this would be for 1 lot. It's currently platted as 6 lots, but it would go back to 1 lot with the vacation of Moose. So, yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions?
Not necessarily to Mr. Morgan. Good to see you again. My questions would probably be best for Carter, but I'd be curious, is this a de-annexation of city property? Is that something that would not typically go through P&Z before it reached us, or?
We can do that in our discussion. Okay,
Mayor.
you bet.
Council.
Any left?
Good evening. My name is Katie. I'm a human rights advocate and activist. I have worked in the community across the nation and across the world, but most importantly, I'm a mom of 5. I have children inside of Natrona County School District, and all 5 of them have experienced severe bullying. I'm sure you've heard this conversation happening around the city quite a bit over the last year as the teen violence has risen to an all-time high. Not only have my children experienced bullying, but so have all of their friends. And it seems the pattern is the same across the district. Do little, say little, and maybe it will go away. Unfortunately, for those of us who have been advocating for our children and the youth across Casper, we're getting the exact same responses from everywhere. Ignored emails, ignored voicemails, ignored attempts at meetings. And it's not just myself. It's other parents, concerned community members, grandparents, and teachers alike who are extraordinarily frustrated with our youth dying and killing each other. We're seeing how pervasive this problem has gotten, and it's at a fever pitch. NCSD students' human rights to a safe and fair education are being violated. Rampant homophobia, transphobia, racism, sexism, and sexual assault is erupting into violence and suicide. Bullying, peer-on-peer violence, and targeting has gotten so severe our children are dying by suicide, putting our suicide rates per capita one of the highest suicide rates in the world. If you did not know this, please read Natrona County's Coroner Slams School District for inaction on suicide. The louder we get advocating for our children, whether we're parents, whether we're grandparents, concerned community members, or teachers, the harsher the blowback is from the district and administration. The targeting has been severe, and we've gotten the message loud and clear. We hope that they do. We will not stop advocating for our youth. We will not stop advocating for our children. We've gone as far as to host a protest on the Hill, demanding that they hear our voices, and our emails are still left on read. We want them to know that we're going to climb every single rung of the ladder until we get resolution. So here I am standing before you, hoping that you'll hear the pleas of the community demanding better for our youngest, our most vulnerable, our bright. They are our future. And we're hoping that we could get public support from this council here, demanding that I know I need to take this to the school board. Trust me, we've been to school board meetings, we've said the same thing, and we get nothing. We're hoping that we could get the public support of this council, demanding that they listen, demanding that they hear, and give us a seat at the table for the future of our children. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak to council? Would any councilors like to briefly respond to matters brought up by the public during communications from persons present? The one thing I wanted to bring up to Mr. Schriftman is that basically that ship has sailed on changing any of the wording on those proposals. So there's nothing we can do about that at this point. Okay. Miss Sutherland, this has been a day.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you. I just wanted to respond, well, it's not actually a response, but I have a question. Katie, thank you for coming up and raising this. I think there's a lot of shared concern about bullying and wellness of our youth and what we can do from the city perspective, but also in coalition with others in our community. So, but I'm curious, I don't know, and Carter's not here. I would be curious to see if we could have a meeting or something with our school, some of the leaders from the district to see what is being done and to have a conversation around bullying, and especially if they're connected. I don't know if the Blue Heart meetings are still going on, but it just would be good to have an ongoing conversation. So Carter's not here, but I'm curious if we could add that.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, certainly will give that message to our city manager. I did want to add, I have had meetings with members of the Health Trust, Anna Kinder from Public Health, Annie Dundas, to formulate a plan to coalesce folks around this issue. Basically, we took July off. I think there's going to be some meetings coming up later part of the month. There's a lot of disparate groups that are working on this from various angles. And so the effort at this point with these different groups is how can we come together to speak with, if not one voice to each say, here's what we're working on. I know that there have been efforts to reach out to the school district. Their participation has been a little bit, is my understanding. I haven't attended anywhere they've been at, but there are some efforts underway. I certainly think that our city manager could reach out to the school district to see if they would be willing to come to address council on that.
Could I do a follow-up?
Sure.
Thank you. That's really great. Is that, so would the model kind of be something like the homeless coalition that's been formed?
Mayor, councilor, very similar to that, similar to the SIM group. I look at it as an adjunct to the SIM effort, but focused on youth.
Yeah.
Anna Kinder had sent out a community assessment. I think she had about 78 responses.
Okay.
she's compiling that data. It's from providers. It's interesting, every group has a different connection. So the Blue Heart Collaborative, for instance, is very focused on peer support, things going on in the schools. There's conversations among providers on how can they address this issue. So there's a lot of work going on. I don't know that it's all kind of coordinated at this point, but hopefully we'll start to see some tangible steps forward at the end of the summer.
Okay, sorry, one additional. I think that's really wonderful. And I guess, so you're attending on behalf of the city, I assume?
I'm attending, I don't know, on behalf of what.
Yeah, you're just there.
I
Yeah.
a lot of different, yeah.
Okay, if it becomes something that, I mean, I think it's been really great to have a few council members attend the homelessness coalition meeting. So if there's an opportunity to bring or loop, I mean, I'd be happy to volunteer to join those meetings, if there's space for city representation there.
Mayor, Councilor, absolutely. We'll, as soon as something gets set up, I will make sure the council's apprised of that, and certainly welcome and invited to attend.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Gamble.
Do her first.
Do what?
Oh,
were you wanting to say something?
Yes, but.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you. I keep glancing over there.
I don't have to be first, that's fine. I guess I would just put a finer point on that. If we are able to ask the school district whether they appear here or just provide us a memo of update, I think it's come to our attention, this body's attention, in enough emails and enough calls. I know it's in their purview, so I'm not trying to get out of my lane, but it would be really helpful to have some updated information about what discussions they're having, what progress they think has been made, what approach they're taking, just so that when we are getting questions and calls, we have something to go on. Because I don't feel like I have a whole lot of information about their approach or what some of their priorities are at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, a couple things I kind of wanted to respond to everyone. So I wanted to thank Amy and whoever joined her from the Casper Senior Center for speaking about the Senior Service District. I want to thank them for hosting multiple town halls. Not something they had to do, but in an effort to be providing education and awareness about the initiative, they've hosted these themselves. And so I would encourage folks to go. The next and last one, as she stated, is this Thursday from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Casper Senior Center. I don't know if I don't think it's included in this package she gave to us, but in my discussions with her, she's been very transparent about the financials of all the organizations involved and open about the concerns and kind of what she predicts for the future. So for folks that don't feel like they're fully informed on that issue, I would encourage you to go to that town hall, speak to Amy, speak to Jamie Lovell at Meals on Wheels, and learn a little bit more before you show up. I believe my understanding is that the Senior Service District initiative is on the primary ballot August 20th, and then should it pass the primary election, they will elect a board of trustees in the general election, is my understanding. So you'll want to fully inform yourself here in the next couple of weeks because our primary is coming up. In response to Mr. Trittman, I think the mayor already alluded to it. I think it's too late in the game to change the language. In regards to the number of proposals, we got a lot of feedback when we discussed a specific purpose tax to potentially fund Midwest Avenue and the water line repair out at Midwest and Edgerton towns. And a lot of the feedback we got was that folks would have voted for one, but they didn't vote for the entire package because of the other. And so the feedback I had gotten led me to believe that people would prefer a menu list of items so that they have more autonomy, so that they have more choice over the initiatives that they're funding. That's the way that Cheyenne does their 610 initiative. And so that's why I believed that it makes sense to segregate those initiatives, not only to give people more autonomy, but also even if the ballot measures fail, it will give us on council and future councils an indication of what level of support, if any, those projects have, so that as we put together future budgets, we'll feel more fully informed when we're considering some of these very expensive projects. And then to Katie, appreciate you showing up this evening. As was alluded to by my colleagues, it's a conversation that is very much ongoing in our community. I was trying to find it on our future agenda. I know here in the next couple weeks, we'll be discussing Buckboard Park with Zulima at our Parks and Rec, department. That is where Lene Brown was murdered, and we had heard from adjacent neighbors in that area about sort of the behavior of the youth and some of the things they got going on over there. And so we'll be talking about Buckboard Park specifically here in the next few weeks. So if that's something that interests you, I would encourage you to stay tuned into that conversation and potentially join us again. The Blue Heart Collaborative was mentioned, which is a group that is formed to kind of address youth violence. They have registration open right now for the first annual Buckets for Bobby 3v3 basketball tournament. I don't know enough about it to know if the funds are going anywhere specific or if it's more so just an awareness and sort of community building event. But I would encourage folks to, if you've not already followed the Blue Heart Collaborative, and or you're interested in joining that 3v3 tournament, I'd refer you there. I also like to plug Copper and the 307 skate park group. I think they've slowed down a little bit due to some personal issues and stuff, but I know they are always soliciting champions for that cause to help them with their future goal of building a skate park youth center that would not only provide a third space for youth to be these days, but also provide a lot in the way of resources. She had talked about laundry services, job training, mental health resources. And so I really believe strongly in that project. And so would love to help Copper recruit more members to help her kind of keep that chugging along. But otherwise, I would look forward to, getting an update from the school board on what exactly their plan is and what discussions they've been having. Because again, it's something that we hear from a lot of folks in the community about. And I think we need to take advantage of that momentum, take advantage of that passion for affecting change and not let it go to waste. That's all I have. Thank you.
It sounds like we would like to have a work session to talk about the school board and what they're trying to do. Is that a reasonable assessment
They
of?
would come to council to talk to us.
Yeah. Did you have a question, Mr. Bond?
Not a question, Mr. Mayor, just a response to two of the speakers in public comment. I just wanted to add my support to what's been said already. And Councilor Sutherland mentioned, and that was exactly the kind of the model of the format I was kind of picturing, was that homeless coalition. That approach, I think, it's a good model. It's been I think a successful initiative to begin in a more broad community sense the issues of homelessness in our community. And I think the same could be done with youth violence. I think it's really, as I've said before, it's going to be a multi-pronged approach. It's going to take not just the school district. I mean, the school district has a major role to play in terms of addressing bullying on the school grounds, but I think it's a larger community issue where obviously it's spilled over and out into the community. So it's going to take the schools, the police, the city, I believe, faith community, the mental health community, and so forth. It's going to be a multi-pronged approach to address the bigger issue of it's bullying, yes, but it is spilled over into actual violence. So it's a community issue. And so I thank Katie for being there tonight. Also, I want to address Tim Starks. I had a phone call visit with Tim today, and it's absolutely heartbreaking what's happening in their neighborhood. And I hope that we're able to reach out and give them some support. I feel like in terms of the information that Tim shared, again, there's multiple, city entities in terms of code enforcement on some issues, the smaller issues, but definitely law enforcement, some of the more criminal issues for sure. So I'm just hoping that Tim and his neighbors can get some help and some support from him. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Haskins.
Katie, I just wanted to say, if you want to reach out to me, I can get you the contact information for both Anna Kinder at Public Health, who is working with the group. It's called the Youth Mental Health Collective, and they do meet in August. I believe their next meeting is on the 16th. I can get you that information also. And then I also have contact information for DC Martinez. He's the Blue Heart Collaborative. And thank you for coming. As you can see, we're all very, very interested in this as well. I also have been to the the school board and felt like maybe they weren't as open as possible. So the fact that the rest of us are on board excites me, because maybe we can get a little headway there and we can find out what's going on while the rest of the community is trying to come up with an organized plan. So thank you for coming.
Honestly, thank you. This is the smallest amount of hope that I've had in so long that anything's actually going to get done. You are the first large group of people with power who have actually listened. Thank you. And I'm just gonna clap that up.
Thank you. Anybody else? Something that was brought up while you were out is Mr. Morgan was here championing for de-annexation. Now, the question was brought up amongst us is that basically right now, I believe it's a six lot
Subdivision.
plat. Yeah, subdivision. Now, to do what he needs or wants to do, basically, he needs to go to P and Z and replat that to begin with, wouldn't it be? And then turn around and go to P and Z for de-annexation rather than coming directly to council?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I guess I would suggest this. In my estimation, it would probably be helpful to hear a little bit more about what it is that he has in mind. So that indeed, if council is willing to engage the conversation on a more formal basis, then those steps would probably be the next step to take. However, if council is not interested in considering de-annexation out of the gate, despite what you might hear from a conversation like that, then Mr. Morgan wouldn't spend the money of going through the replat process and all the other engineering pieces and parts that would need to be done, and would be spared basically those costs if council just wasn't interested at the gate.
So it sounds like we need to have a work session then to go over the principle of de-annexation.
If you're open to that.
Oh,
Mr. Mayor, Council,
which hand do I want first?
go for it. I'm happy to jump in. Wyoming statute does specifically address municipal de-annexation. So there's a specific statutory process that would be kicked off by a petition for de-annexation. The county would then have 60 days to weigh in on what the impact to the county would be. And then there's some procedural steps that need to be taken. I know that staff is aware of this issue. I have met with staff. We've compiled a list of issues, if you will, that we feel that would need to be addressed before staff could bring that forward to council with a recommendation to approve a de-annexation. So certainly, if city managers amenable and council is desirous, we could tee that up at a work session and certainly present both the process and the information that we have.
So kind of,
Well, hence the reason I think we need a work session.
sure, not a problem. Everybody okay with that? Say again, go for it.
I'm referring to some news articles from 4 years ago. Sounds like this has been something that has been discussed, maybe not the specific de-annexation, but this specific development has been discussed several years ago by a previous council. And so I guess I would just ask, whatever research or context had been gathered at that time, maybe we dust it off and combine it with, I would like to know what this discussion amounted to 4 years ago and consider that as a part of this discussion. Thank you. Oh, looks like you even, I see your name, so.
Say again?
I see your name, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was here. What was, in the minutes of the meeting?
Oh, that was just an oil city news article.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was a bad guy. Anyhow, we'll get that put on the work session then.
Sounds good.
Very good. Now it's time to move on unless anybody has anything else. Mr. Bond, you okay? Okay. Please read the consent agenda title.
Establish August 20th, 2024 as the public hearing date for a plat creating the Mount Hope Addition Number 2, the associated subdivision agreement, and a rezone of the proposed Mount Hope Addition Number 2 from R4 High Density Residential and R2 1 Unit Residential to entirely R2 1 Unit Residential.
The chair would entertain a motion to by minute action establish the public hearing date just read.
So moved.
Second.
Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote.
With all councilors voting aye, the motion passes.
Yep. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of an ordinance approving a zone change of lot 24, block 98 of the Casper addition located at 837 East C Street from M1 Limited Industrial to C3 Central Business. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
Thank you, Mayor. I do. Exhibit number 1, correspondence from Liz Becker to J. Carter Napier dated July 12th, 2024. Exhibit number 2, Casper Star Tribune affidavit for publication on July 23rd, 2024.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report?
I do, Your Honor. Thank you. This really is amounting to the petitioner wanting to change the use of the building sort of in the subject area here. As you may have read in the memo, the facility is currently being used as a child care center. Petitioner would like to close that operation and convert the subject building into a residential use. Accordingly, M1 is not accommodating of residential use and therefore a C3, which is being requested for your consideration, is an allowed use and therefore the most appropriate in the eyes of the petitioner to have the council consider. And as you know, in order to change zoning in this regard, an ordinance process is the appropriate steps to take.
Thank you. Council will now listen to public comment. These are limited to 5 minutes and no duplication of speakers will be allowed. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance, please approach the lectern.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. My name is Gail Falcons and I own 837 East C Street. And one of our biggest issues was we were issued, I don't know the exact word, but we were able to put a 1-bedroom apartment in the basement that under light industrial was to be used for purposes for security. But that, I think it was a conditional use, would expire if I close the daycare. And because I am 66, I want to retire. I don't want to do the daycare forever. And so then we were kind of looking at what we could use the building for. And light industrial doesn't give us a lot of options that are available to us. And so we looked at putting another apartment on the first floor. So we would have the basement and the first floor, which would give us retirement income. And so that's really what we wanted to do. Do you have any questions?
Nope, thank you very much. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the proposed ordinance to please approach the lectern. Being no others to speak for or against the proposed ordinance, I now declare the public hearing closed. Please read the ordinance by title only.
An ordinance approving a zone change for lot 24, block 98 of the Casper addition subdivision in the city of Casper, Wyoming.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve on first reading the ordinance just read.
Second.
Discussion. Amendments. Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote.
All councilors voting aye, the motion passes.
Please read the ordinance on second reading by title only.
Ordinance amending various chapters of Title 15, Building and Construction of the Casper Municipal Code regarding international codes.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve on second reading the ordinance just read.
Second.
Council will now listen to public comment. Anyone else to speak? Discussion amongst council members. Amendments. Abstentions or nay votes? Were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay, that's what, cuts the motion out of my eye. All voting aye,
Aye.
please record the vote.
All councilors voting aye, the motion passes.
Council will now consider consent resolutions. Please read the consent resolutions by title only.
10A1, authorizing a contract for professional services with Hydro Optimization and Automation Solutions Incorporated for the Upper Rock Creek Reservoir Communication and Security Upgrades Project. 10A2, authorizing an amended regional water system joint powers agreement amongst the city of Casper, Wyoming, town of Bar Nunn, Wyoming, towns of Midwest and Edgerton, Wyoming, Pioneer Water and Sewer District, and Natrona County, Wyoming. 10A3, ratifying the mayor's signature and authorizing amendment number 1 to the Public Safety Advisory Committee agreement between the city of Casper and Wyoming Medical Center Incorporated. 10A4, authorizing an agreement with Grizzly Excavating and Construction LLC for the D Street Improvements Project. 10A5, approving the vacation and final plat creating the Mesa Edition number 12 subdivision and approving the subdivision agreement. 10A6, authorizing a cooperative agreement with the Wyoming Department of Transportation for street enhancements related to the First Street Mills to East Yellowstone Enhancements Project. 10A7, authorizing amendment 1 to the grant award agreement between the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security and City of Casper. 10A8, authorizing amendment number 1 to the contract for professional services between the City of Casper and Republic Parking LLC for the management of the municipal parking garage and municipal parking lot. 10A9, authorizing an agreement with the Department of Justice to participate in the Equitable Sharing Program. And 10A10, issuing a revocable license agreement with Black Hills Energy for a natural gas line to service a backup generator for the Altel cell tower on City of Casper property located at 1903 North Poplar Street.
The chair would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda items just read.
So moved.
City manager, would you like to comment on any of these items?
No, sir.
I would like to comment on one item, and that was the Regional Water System Joint Powers Board Agreement. That is basically a rewrite of that agreement because of the disbandment of the Wardwell Water District and the takeover by Bar Nunn of that area. And so those all had to be rearranged and distribution of assets rearranged. That's what that was all about. So that's an information only. Do we have any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye. Please record the vote.
All councilors voting aye, the motion passes.
Please read the consent minute action titles.
11A1, authorizing the purchase of one new 53-foot box van trailer for use by the Solid Waste Division of the Public Services Department. 11A2, authorizing the purchase of one new 1-ton crew cab truck with tilt bed and accessories for use by the Solid Waste Division of the Public Services Department. 11A3, authorizing the purchase of one new tracked aerial lift for use by the Weed and Pest Division of the Parks, Recreation, and Public Facilities Department. 11A4, authorizing the purchase of one new wide area mower for use by the Parks Division of the Parks, Recreation, and Public Facilities Department. And 11A5, authorizing the purchase of 3 new green surrounds mowers for use by the Casper Municipal Golf Course.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent minute action agenda items just read.
Moved.
Second.
Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye. Please record the vote.
All councilors voting aye, the motion passes.
At this time, we ask councilors to bring forward relevant concerns or items of interest. You feeling lonely down there?
A little bit.
What do we have going on, Councilor Pollock?
Oh, gosh, let me look. You know, I didn't have any meetings scheduled for last week, the fifth week, so I don't have a whole lot to bring to you. Yeah, I don't think I have anything tonight.
Very good, thank you. Councilor Haskins.
I don't have any meetings or anything of that. So Wednesday, David Street Station has a concert. And Friday, the Rialto's doing another comedy show. So good for them for starting a new business downtown. Saturday's the duck derby. That's all I have.
Quack, quack.
I know I'm in the calendar of events now, only I never have any. I'm working on it.
There you go. Councilor Gamroth.
Wanted to thank the team at the Casper Reentry Center for the tour last Wednesday. I was joined by a couple of my colleagues to tour around that facility. I was very thankful to have the opportunity to walk around, meet their staff, talk to some of their residents about their stay there and the programming and services that are offered. It seems like the new owners are reinvesting in the building, catching up on deferred maintenance and doing more community outreach to form new and expand upon existing relationships. So again, just want to express my thanks to that team. It's a facility I've heard about the entire time I've lived in Casper and never had the opportunity to learn much about other than driving by it on my way to Shoshone. So I appreciate that invite. And then I wanted to highlight a couple of the memos that we got in our information packets during our off week because I just thought they were very informative and interesting. We had one memo on Washington Park tree removals as part of our renovations of the park. It was on page 119 of our July 26th info packet. I know removal of city trees is something that gets a lot of community play and a lot of community interest at times. And so I just would refer folks that heard that there would be some tree removals at Washington Park. I'd refer you to that memo so you can learn a little bit more about the fact that, silver poplars, cottonwoods, and other genus populous trees are prohibited, restricted by city code due to health, safety, and property concerns. For a variety of reasons, their root structures impact water and sewer lines. They have suckers that produce colonies of structurally weak branches. They have soft wood that can't handle our heavy snow loads. So just very interesting. If you're concerned or you had heard about that, I'd refer you to that packet. We also had during our citizen comment portion of a meeting several weeks back, we had a gal inquire about the construction of an overpass on Wyoming Boulevard near the planned Kensington Heights subdivision. That was on page 124 of our info packet, and it just details the process in regards to the needed traffic and other studies, the perspective of YDOT, since that is a YDOT highway, on the type of traffic that's in that area. There was an estimate that it cost about $6 million for an overpass, and so, it's a great idea. I was glad that the speaker came and inquired about it. Promoted some healthy discussion, but sounds like it's not something that's feasible at this time, so I'd refer folks to that. And then lastly, the memo page 127 also had a memo about fleet replacement and the factors that are considered when purchasing new vehicles. I had brought that up in one of our recent meetings, and so it just provided a lot of great context in regards to how the city goes about procuring new vehicles. There was an illustration on page 127 of the wait times for 48 different vehicles that we have going back as far as fiscal year 22. And so I know that was one of the important factors was delivery time in regards to vehicles, because we have some vehicles that we've been waiting on for several years, and when you get a backlog of those vehicles, there's just a lot of factors at play. And so I just encourage folks that had any questions about vehicle procurement from our fleet division to refer to those memos. So That's all I have. I really appreciate staff taking the time to put together that information during our off week. I always love, info packets are the fun packets. It's what I have to look forward to after going through the drive, building claims and some of the other stuff. So thanks.
Counselor Sullivan.
I gave Kyle my time. I don't have anything.
Weissman.
I was going to speak to Katie. So the school district, from my understanding, which we need to find out, and this is something that you can ask too. They have an app for parents to use for their students. And it is my understanding that in Trona County School District, they've purchased this app, but they're not currently using it. And so it is for parents to be able to see everything that the children are doing on their phones. And then you can see where they're going and as if you're actually in that child's phone. And so I know that the school district is working towards something like this, which should help with the parents knowing the bullying and what's being said and done and everything. And that app, just for you to know, it's called Custodio, Custodio. And so I know that the school district is working on that for bullying for the students. So you might want to just kind of keep track of that, of the going through the school district. And then last night I attended J Boot Foundation and wasn't really sure what this was about, but it was about mental health and suicide prevention. And so it's a teaming up with the McMurray Foundation, and they're going to give the teachers and all high school students in the state of Wyoming cowboy boots. And with the thought of with bullying and if somebody is struggling with suicide, that if they had their boots on, somebody could see that and then do essentially what they call a boot check and talk to the students about what they might possibly be going through. So I appreciate the invite to that last night. It was very touching and just spread the word for the J Boot Foundation. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. During the last week, had a meeting with city manager and the police department on potential recruiting ideas to try to get our staff back up to par. Attended the National Guard deployment ceremony last Tuesday. The CRC tour that was quite informational. So appreciate you going as well. I attended the YDOT presentation of where they are in Natrona County over at the county commission this afternoon. Passed some of that information on to Mr. Brower, and one of his engineers was there. So yeah, we're all up to date on that, but doesn't look like we're going to get a new bridge or intersection at First and Poplar for quite some time. So very good. So from that standpoint, the next meeting of the city council will be a work session to be held at 4:30. Oh, I'm sorry. You weren't over here. Councilor Bond.
Thank you, Steve. I'll be quick. I didn't have much. I just wanted to say I've got a quick planning and zoning meeting on Thursday, but I'm planning to make it over to the senior town hall meeting immediately after that. It should be a short meeting, so plan to attend that and report back after that. And next Tuesday is National Senior Citizen Day, so I don't know, take a senior citizen to lunch or something. Mobile. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bond. Anybody else? The next meeting of City Council will be a work session to be held at 4:30 on Tuesday, August 13th. Regular council meeting to be held at 6 on Tuesday, August 20th. Notice of an executive session to take place at this date and during this meeting was given. We have matters to discuss related to land and personnel. We also have additional matters to discuss involving litigation and attorney-client privileged items. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session, and at the conclusion of that executive session to reconvene this regular meeting. Please note on the agenda that city council will consider a minute action item following the executive session.
So moved.
There are a majority of councilors present, and a motion to adjourn into an executive session has been moved and seconded. The motion requires a 2/3 majority of the council present. Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote.
All counselors voting aye, the motion passes.
A greater than 2/3 majority of council present voted in favor of the motion. We are hereby adjourned into an executive session.